The Devil Wears Prada is one of those films that everyone knows, even if you haven't watched it in years like me. You remember the outfits, the attitude, the atmosphere, the characters. I mean, Miranda Priestly. It came out in 2006, became this huge cultural phenomenon, and 20 years later we have a sequel, and this sequel brought everything back, the discussions, the hype, the expectations. And let's be honest, people usually do not like sequels. I do not like sequels myself. I'm not really a fan of it. I feel like it's sometimes unnecessary, but people made an exception for this one. People were excited. The promotion was everywhere, the discussions came back, and everyone had something to say about it. Yeah. But after watching the sequel this week, I realized that the movie was not just about fashion, it was also about power, and more importantly, how little of it anyone actually has. Because even Miranda Priestly, who looks like she controls everything, might just be better at surviving the system than actually controlling it. So instead of focusing on the fashion or the nostalgia, I want to focus on something else, the system behind it. So yes, there will be spoilers, I'm just warning you guys. So if you didn't get to watch the movie yet, I don't know if you should watch this video, and if you really don't care about the movie but you just want to know about the analysis, well, you can still stay. So when I watched the movie, I felt like the movie wanted to display or reflect how everyone is replaceable, even the people at the top, at the very top. You would not even expect it. We see it immediately with Andy Sachs. So she's this great journalist, this talented journalist who was about to receive their award. She was getting ready to receive her award, and then she gets a text as she was going to deliver her speech, and she and her colleagues receive a text that they got laid off from the company Vanguard. As always, the company always prioritizes optimization and profits, so I guess it was not surprising. Of course, the company always tries to save the company by cutting jobs, but of course, the CEO happens to always get a pay raise. And it's something that feels very familiar. The movie shows that this isn't an isolated case. This reflects a broader reality. Unfortunately, we see it across many different sectors: journalism, tech, retail, I mean, even public services. Unfortunately, you feel like layoffs are happening everywhere, and it has almost become the norm. Everybody expects to get laid off one day or another, I guess. It keeps on happening again and again and again. And Andy realizes it very early on. I mean, she gets laid off, then she gets hired by Runway magazine, and she actually ends up replacing somebody else. I think it was an intern or a young graduate from an Ivy League. But yeah, she just replaces her, boom, you know? And then even Miranda blames her for it. Like, you see, you just replaced somebody else. Bravo, you're proud of yourself? Okay. So yeah, she's already replaced somebody. It's not even shocking. It's not even framed as shocking. It's just how things work. But what's more interesting is that this logic doesn't stop at the bottom of the hierarchy. Even Miranda, who seems to be very powerful, untouchable, doesn't seem very immune to it. I mean, I'm not saying she's replaceable, but in the sequel, you feel like you have a feeling that she doesn't actually control everything like the first movie made you feel like, you know? Because in the sequel, you feel like at the moment ownership shifts, her position becomes unstable. We see it especially when Irv dies and his son takes over the company. All of a sudden, the position that was promised to her in a way disappears. The structure changes and she just kind of has to accept it. You feel like she's more passive. She just kind of have to tolerate what's going on. And it's not just her, it's also Emily, you know. In the sequel, Emily dates this divorced billionaire guy that has succeeded in tech, and she's trying to buy Runway from Miranda. She's trying to buy it as a revenge. Okay, she's buying it through her boyfriend, and it's like, it's not really yours. You get what I mean? It's not really yours. Different level, same logic. Even when you look at Nigel, who has been working with Miranda for years, he was always consistent in his work, deeply involved. He keeps on getting pushed aside, and even in the sequel, he did say that he got, unfortunately, betrayed by Miranda many times. It's like, it's nothing new. You know, she betrayed me multiple times. It just doesn't matter. So it seems like nobody has a fixed position. Everybody's just replaceable. So then you start seeing a pattern. Everyone is interchangeable. It doesn't really matter who you are. There's always somebody who can take your place. And eventually Miranda realizes that she's not exempt of that rule either. So at that point, as I was watching the movie, I was like, but this isn't just about the fashion industry. This is about a system. I'm gonna sound a little woke here, but this is about capitalism where your value is just tied to your labor, you know, and as soon as you're not useful anymore, you're just discarded. And you even see that the movie pushes the idea even further, because as Miranda was talking to this Mr. Barnes billionaire guy as he was getting ready to buy the company, you realize that it's not even just about humans, it's also about machines, about AI. Before, you used to be scared of somebody taking your job, you know, so I don't know, somebody smarter, younger, more experienced, I don't know, somebody. And now it's not even, you're not even getting replaced by human beings, you're getting replaced by a machine, by AI. And this guy had this speech, he was talking to Miranda, and it's like, you know, maybe we might not need models anymore. We might not need fashion designers. AI can do everything. No matter where you are in the hierarchy, if you do not really own anything, you don't have any control. You don't. No matter where you are in the hierarchy, I don't care about your job position, whatever, if you're the manager, the chief executive, blah, 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 blah. Basically, if you don't own anything, you can't control anything. And that means it's just replaceable, just like that. If everybody's replaceable in a way, that means that power is an illusion. Yes, I'm going to start, you know, getting philosophical in a way. Because if Miranda seemed pretty powerless when structure started to shift, who am I? If she, who has actual power? Who? Yeah, sorry. I got distracted. In the first movie, you see that Miranda is powerful. She is this influential badass. Everybody obeys her. Everybody listens to her. She's the most influential person in any room that she walks into. Yeah, everybody's scared of her. You know, she's like this untouchable, iconically untouchable person. But in the sequel, they kind of nuance this image. In The Devil Wears Prada 2, her power doesn't seem as solid. You can see the cracks. So I'm gonna try to summarize it. I'm gonna try to sound as polished and straightforward as possible. So Miranda gets hired by Irv's father, and Irv and her work together. They grow the company, years pass. Irv's father dies, and then the company goes to him. And you can tell that in her speech as she was opening up to Andy. It's like, yeah, I worked alongside Irv and we really grew the company. She's central to Runway's success. And yet when the father died, you know, the company goes straight to Irv. It's like, okay, you did a great job. Thank you, Miranda. But, you know, but then even she has to work under pressure. You know, Irv expects results. He expects her to perform at all times. And for years, Miranda is waiting for that promotion, that major promotion of head of global content. And that promotion was at stake in the beginning of the movie because of this whole scandal, and she was like, I cannot lose this promotion, right? And yeah, everything was great. She was gonna get it, you know, Miranda, head of global content at Elias Clark, and boom, he dies. Heart attack, I guess. Boom, he dies. This promotion that was like a dangling carrot just disappears. Just nothing. Basically, everything shifts. And who gets the company? Obviously the son, who knows nothing about fashion, and he just cares about profit and optimization. He doesn't care about fashion and fancy clothes. The same way employees were worried about their position. What's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to us? Even she was like, what's going to happen to me? And I think she hasn't felt that in a while. She was like, excuse me? I'm going to have to worry about my job security like the other peasants? Huh, I didn't expect that would happen. Oof. I just find it funny that Irv's father passes the company to Irv, and then she works all these years, and then when he dies, the company is still passed down to the son. And it's like, power is passed down from a man to another. Despite your contributions, despite your skills, despite your talent, it did not matter. It just did not matter. And then you realize that Miranda is left navigating a system that she has never controlled really, but mostly helped sustain. Her power was not really hers in the first place, I feel. Because she embodies authority, but she's still dependent on structures that she cannot fully control, that she does not fully control. And again, that dynamic does not just apply to her, it applied also to Emily, who was, you know, I'm not saying gold digging because, and you know, Emily was kind of trying to get back at Miranda, and she, you know, kind of used this billionaire guy who's really quite an idiot. She felt like she had power, but she kind of dependent on a man to get that power. It's a very vulnerable and fragile position, because even at the end, you know, she opens up to Andy and she's like, yeah, we broke up. And Andy's like, girl, you can get your own thing. You don't need this. You don't need that. You need to do your own thing. The hand that feeds you can also starve you. So that's when you realize that we tend to associate merit with hard work, great work ethic, talent, amazing skills. And then you realize it's not just about that. We often assume that if someone reaches the top, I mean, they probably just kind of earned that spot, right? But in this system, power doesn't really function like that. It's not always something that is earned, it's granted and can be easily withheld. And you realize finally that Miranda is not just a symbol of dominance, she's a symbol of adaptation. She has to adapt to maintain this power. And some people know the rules better than others, and that's just unfortunate, but it's pretty much life. So this is just my opinion, okay? You might feel like she's probably pulling stuff out her own booty. I get it. This is pretty much what came to mind when I watched the movie. But then there's also the psychology of power. Especially when I was watching Andy, I was like, I have to talk about this rapport that we have with our managers, the people that we look up to, because it's kind of toxic. We've all had that. Our first job, got out of college, graduated. You probably started your first internship, your first entry-level job. You want people to like you. You want your boss to be proud of you. And then you realize that you kind of are a little dependent on this validation approval thingy, and it's affecting your mental health. And I noticed that in the first movie with Andy. I mean, Andy was this woman in her early 20s. She was navigating this career, and she just met this, you know, ferocious Miranda who would just, you know, could kill you with her eye. And she's trying to get this approval. You know, I understand this is new to you. You want to improve, you want to get better. So you want your boss to like you, at least like what you do. I get it, you know. But like in the sequel, please, in the Devil Wears Prada 2, please, like Andy, you're in your 40s, I think, because 20 years has passed and now you're in your 40s. Why are you still clinging to this validation? You know, when she complained to Nigel about, you know, I kind of saved y'all a little bit about this, you know, this scandal. She never thanks me. Nigel told her, do your job. You want a cookie or something? But what is this desire to have validation all the time? She understands power, layoffs, capitalism, all these very complicated social things that she has been studying for years. I mean, she understands it. She analyzes it. It's her job. So why is she clinging to that validation? Why is she clinging to Miranda's approval when Miranda is the embodiment of evil corporation? Like, she's the embodiment of the evil side of corporations. Like, because when it comes to Miranda, she doesn't apply that same clarity. And Miranda, on the other hand, operates in the other direction. She never gives her recognition, truly. She withholds it, pretty much. You know, she would never really admit that she did a good job. She probably might smile at your dress, but she would never say, oh, you know, you look great. No, she would never do that. Like, come on. She keeps people in a position of fear, of constant doubt, self-doubt. Oh my gosh, am I doing good? Am I doing fine? Because when validation is scarce, it's something that you crave. You know, at one point, I remember in the movie, one of the assistants couldn't even use the bathroom. Like, it was like, do you think it's really worth it? Even laughing was regulated. Like, you can't laugh, you can't pee, you can't laugh, you can't breathe, you can't be fat, you can't be this, you can't be... This does not work my mental health, okay? I didn't do 7 years of therapy to be going through this, okay? I didn't go through all of this for me to be going back into burnout mode. No, okay? No. So yeah, that's something I needed to know. Why do people still need to feel the validation? Why do you need the approval of people that clearly do not care about you or value you? Yes, they pay you, but they don't care about you. I just, you know what? You don't care about me and I don't care about you. I care about this paycheck. I care about this paycheck. I don't know why Andy couldn't just get her paycheck. Thank you. Do her job. I did the job. And then, because you know how Miranda is. Like, why? Okay, I got a little bit carried away. I'm sorry. But yeah, I didn't watch the movie with the expectations of hating it or liking it. I was pretty neutral. So I tried not to be biased. I mean, obviously I'm going to be biased in a way. I'm giving my opinion. We don't like sequels. Sequels usually don't top the first movie, okay? And the movie really wasn't that bad. Honestly, the movie was pretty good. Nothing groundbreaking. You can tell I'm not a fashion expert. I like fashion, but I'm not an expert. So yeah, it was nice. It was a nice movie. Would I recommend it? I would say if you have the money, because times are hard, you know. Times are so hard. People are like, you know what, let me withhold that $10. If I can keep that $10, I'm gonna keep my $10 because times are rough. If you are a fan of The Devil Wears Prada, why not? I ended up having more to say than I expected. What did you think of the movie? Did you see it the same way, or did you have a completely different perspective? I want to hear what you have to say. Because for me, it did open doors to bigger questions about power, identity, gender, especially gender. Because I know the movie wanted to be a little bit girl bossy, but it was girl bossy, but I was like, yeah, we are girl bosses, you know, we are having our careers and stuff, but there's still a man somewhere. So I'm Milana, and I'm introducing myself at the end of the video. But yeah, I like to talk about different things, social dynamics, race, gender, mental health. I like to talk about different topics. Usually I did not expect my first video to be it's not an analysis of the movie, but kind of. But I like to talk about different things, not just about movies, but just anything that is happening right now in this current society, because it's bad. It's bad, guys. Yeah. I'm pretty much inspired to share my opinions about different things as a woman of color who's Black and lives in Europe. So I'd love for you to come along and be part of these discussions with me. So if that's what you like, if that's what you're into, you know, I'll be posting more videos about different topics. If you made it this far, thank you. Thank you. I honestly, I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.